Uncle Joel with Pin and Reel, and just wanted to talk to you a little bit today about A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a new movie featuring Tom Hanks about Mr. Rogers. Now, I didn't grow up watching Mr. Rogers a whole lot. I did a little bit, but it was more as someone who's watching younger kids. So I wouldn't say I have a strong connection with the character or the person, but I definitely have memories of him. Going into this film, I think I had the wrong impression, and I have rewatched the trailer for it since, and I want to say that it's not that there's anything wrong with the film, but that there is something wrong with the marketing. Markets the film as a much brighter, happier film than it actually is. Mr. Rogers himself is not actually the main character. The main character is a reporter working for Esquire magazine who is assigned to give a profile of Mr. Rogers. It's initially supposed to just be a puff piece. He is supposed to have a short hour-long interview and then just write 1,000 words, giving it just a general description of him. Unfortunately, the writer is not the type to do that. He wants to go far more in depth and give more of an expose. And so the movie winds up being him wanting to get to the core of Mr. Rogers. Doesn't believe that the persona that we see on the TV show is actually the real person. Feels like there's the Mr. Rogers character, and then there's Fred Rogers in real life. And so a lot of the movie is him basically trying to find the cracks in Mr. Rogers' armor. Trying to find out where the fictional TV version ends and the real person begins. And so most of the story is actually told from the perspective of the writer. And I would say a good 2/3 of the film doesn't even feature Mr. Rogers at all. Yes, it's all centered around him, and it is showing how Mr. Rogers affected this writer and affects the world and his entire outlook on life. But you get less screen time with Tom Hanks than you do with all of the other actors. My enjoyment of the film was a little bit different than I was expecting. Again, that goes back to issues with the marketing. I feel like the marketing played it as a much more upbeat film than it actually turned out to be. There is definitely a strong light to the film, but that light is to illuminate the darkness. The main character is a very broken person, and he spends a lot of time trying to find where Mr. Rogers might be broken. I really appreciated how, in his quest to find these cracks, he did find some, and they displayed these cracks in ways that felt genuine. And I really appreciated seeing those cracks shine through Mr. Rogers in a way that still upheld his character. It wasn't like, oh no, this is all a facade. Like, okay, no, like we get to see the deep, genuine turmoil of the difficulties of life that Fred Rogers went through, even if he doesn't necessarily express them very much. So yeah, just overall, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's difficult for me to give a proper review at this point because my expectations from the trailers and from my knowledge of Mr. Rogers really skewered kind of what I would expect of the film versus what it actually was. So I would say don't watch the trailers. This goes back to my general attitude of not wanting to watch trailers for things that I'm going to see, because they so frequently are inaccurate or give me wrong expectations. And I feel like that was definitely the case here. The trailers and the movie do not line up. The movie is heavy, deals with heavy issues, and there are definitely moments that will stand a good chance of bringing you to tears, or seeing yourself in the main character and the difficulties that he goes through, or the difficulties that his wife goes through, and just the whole situation, and not knowing how to handle your emotions, and the way that he learns through his interactions with Mr. Rogers and the things that he learns from Mr. Rogers and about Mr. Rogers really serves to provide a deep, heavy narrative that the trailers don't really do a good job of expressing. The trailers make it seem much more lighthearted. So yeah, if you grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and or if you simply enjoy dramas that are based on real stories, I would say this movie is worth watching. So yeah, give A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood a watch and let me know what you think. Until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.